Our candidates for alderman in the 2nd Ward of the City of DeKalb are Bill Finucane and Stephen Clark. And we're going to start off with a 2-minute opening statement, and then we have 3 questions. Each question the candidates will answer with a 1-minute response and then 2-minute long closing statements. And we'll alternate who gets to answer first too. So let's start out with an opening statement from Mr. Finucane.
Thank you very much, Susan. My name is Bill Finucane. I'm a candidate for alderman in the 2nd Ward. I'm a 33-year resident of River Drive, originally coming to DeKalb as a student. Growing up in Chicago, DeKalb has become my home. I have both a bachelor's degree and a master's in public administration from NIU. For the past 26 years, I've been the manager of transportation services on campus and responsible for an annual budget of approximately $1.75 million and 250 vehicles. Since 1977, I've been involved in a variety of community service, beginning with coaching youth baseball before I had any children of my own. I've served on and or chaired a number of committees and boards at institutions and groups such as St. Mary's Schools, Kishwaukee Kiwanis, the Children's Learning Center, Voluntary Action Center, NIU, DeKalb High School, and for the state of Illinois. Currently, I represent NIU on the Chamber of Commerce Board and the DeKalb Sycamore Area Transportation Study Board, DSATS. I am Vice President of the Voluntary Action Center Board, and I'm Chair of the City's Environmental Commission, and I've been doing that for the past 4 years. I'd like to describe myself as a fiscal conservative with many moderate viewpoints. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Finucane. And now, Mr. Clark, your opening statement.
Hello, my name is Stephen Clark. I am running for alderman in DeKalb's 2nd Ward. I came to DeKalb in 1989 when I was in 2nd grade, and other than going away to college and working a couple other jobs, I've been in DeKalb ever since. I graduated from DeKalb High School in 1999, and I graduated from the NIU College of Law in 2008, and have been practicing as an attorney since 2008. 2011, I opened my own firm in DeKalb, and since March of last year, I've had an office at 4th and Locust. I've primarily practiced in civil litigation and debt defense primarily, and doing personal bankruptcy cases, trying to bring low-cost, flat-rate type services to people around DeKalb County and Northern Illinois generally. In my practice, I see people from many different walks of life, and certainly have seen the effects of the Great Recession on people being able to pay their own bills and get along with their own family budgets, which are in many cases quite tight. I was appointed to the DeKalb Liquor Commission in 2010 and served on it until it was eliminated by the City Council due to the reforms of the Liquor Code earlier this year. I'm running because I want to have the city be able to focus on providing the core services to the citizens, to ensure that we have fair government and that people have equal access to City Hall, and to apply for and receive the assistance that the city can provide for various redevelopment projects. I want to see more reform of the city code beyond just that which is done on the liquor code, to lower the cost it is to enforce the code and to make it easier to live and work and do business in DeKalb. And I want to restrain the growth in spending and taxes in the city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And now we'll start with the questions. And I'm going to cram a lot into this question, and you only get a minute to answer it. So, Mr. Finucane, you'll go first. And the question is this: what is the most important issue in your ward? How do you plan on dealing with that? And what kind of help would you need from the next mayor to be able to accomplish that?
Okay, as you may know, the 2nd Ward has a kind of odd-shaped ward. It runs from University Village on the southwest corner all the way up and across Bethany Road on the north side. So I think at different ends of the ward, the issues are going to be a little bit different. I think down in the southwest corner of the ward, the primary issue is going to be public safety. I mean, we are all aware of the issues that are occurring in that part of town. That's not the only part of town those issues are occurring. But then as we move up onto the northern end of the ward, the issues are different. It's more in terms of infrastructure, controlling cost, and taking care of business that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Clark?
I would say that for the city, for the second ward and the city overall, having the money to be able to provide the core services the city provides to the citizens, the residents, people doing business, visitors, that's key everywhere. And as you'd heard earlier this evening, with the reduction in the tax base as it goes on with the Great Recession, essentially the city has recently been forced to raise taxes the past couple years so that the amount of money that's coming into the city remains constant. And this atmosphere and situation, I think, is going to continue. So we've got to be very careful about how we spend our money so we can make sure we prioritize the core services that people really rely on. And it's going to mean a lot of hard choices around the city. Thank you very much.
All right, and our next question will first go to Mr. Clark. What was your position on the Kiwanis Park land swap with Shodine? And in the future, how would you approach similar arrangements, keeping in mind the financial pressures on the various public bodies?
Well, I certainly, from going to school down there and playing soccer there nearly 20 years ago, I certainly wanted to see that remain a park. I don't think the city government really was able, and I don't know if it's really financially able at this point, to be able to help out the governmental districts that are involved with that park. I certainly think that it's important to maintain parks that people rely on, and reasons why people would say that that part of town was a nice place to live and a nice place to be able to do things like play soccer and go to school and have those fields available for all kinds of activities. So I don't necessarily see how the city of DeKalb had an official role in that. It certainly didn't. I certainly don't believe it has the resources to subsidize those kind of purchases in the future.
Thank you. And Mr. Finucane.
Okay. You know, the Kiwanis Park is a great green space in the south end of town. It is one of those treasures on the south end of town that, you know, South 4th Street may be lacking at this time, and that, I think, helps that into town. All three of my kids played soccer out there, and it was a great venue for that. I'm glad that the Park District and the school board were able to work out a solution, or in the process of working out a solution, so that remains a green space. Yes, the financial constraints for both of those governing bodies are very tough right now, but unfortunately the city does not really have a financial role in that issue.
Okay, thank you. And our final question, we will go first to Mr. Finucane, and it's a little about development and the way things, how the city looks, or you want it to look. What's your vision for improving the east entryway into the city, and will you support rehab along South 4th?
Well, I think any development within the city needs to be taken a controlled approach, whatever part of town that's in, whether we talk about Iron Gate, if we talk about the east entrance or the south main entrance into town. Obviously, with the TIF districts that's being proposed on the South 4th Street, I think there'll be some economic development happen there. We've had some with the small businesses that are out there, Lehan Drugs, the Dollar General. That helps. The fact that the middle school is now there, that also helps because it provides a big anchor for that section of town. We need to work on coming up with definitive plans on how we can improve both those two of the four main entrances in the town.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Clark.
I think the city needs to take an approach where it supports development and redevelopment of South 4th and the eastern entryway to the city pretty much on a store-by-store and lot-by-lot basis. I think that by having small improvements over time and supporting projects that are financially responsible, the city can succeed at promoting, making the city a good place to live in, a more beautiful place to be in, and a good place for people to do business. I think that taking a larger view and trying to support larger projects, I think that era may be, it'll be difficult for the city to support large projects, and the city certainly has to focus on supporting the areas that are really in need of assistance as opposed to doing anything to subsidize development places like Sycamore Road.
Okay, thank you very much. And now it's time for closing statements already. I would like to start with Mr. Clark.
Well, this race for both the second ward and for races across the city are about having a city council that is disciplined and that focuses on the core services the city needs to provide. We need to redevelop the city on a small-scale basis, one store and one lot at a time, and restrain ourselves from larger projects, which I have become more and more suspicious of the more I've studied the ability of the city government to support. I think we need to work on getting good return on our investment on the roughly $80 million city budget. And we need to do this by basing our decisions on metrics of saying how we can measure what the city is spending the money on and what we're getting out of it. And I certainly want to bring an attitude of independence that I'm going to dig and see beyond what's presented to the City Council and what the experts and consultants the city has say about what needs to be done, and will apply my own judgment and my own experience towards the arguments that are brought by the city staff and by other members of the City Council and by members of the community and what they think the city should be doing. I think in some cases we need to find new experts and new consultants to provide us with fresh views and fresh perspectives on large city projects and being able to work on the backlog of deferred maintenance and deferred capital investment the city has had to make during the Great Recession. I'd like to thank the League for putting on this event and giving myself and many other candidates the opportunity to speak to the public, both here and online and on TV. If people are interested in finding out some more about my campaign, I encourage them to visit my website at clarkfordekalb.com or just to come by my office or give me a phone call, as I certainly am looking to speak with people about what they're interested in and what they want their government to do for them. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. And closing statements from Bill Finucane.
Thank you. Among the issues I foresee coming in the city, and these are in no particular order at this point, we have infrastructure issues such as the aging water and sewer system, maintenance of streets, and the repurposing of this building and the current police station into a new city hall. The changing of the relationship between the city and NIU, with a new mayor, a new city manager, a new incoming president in Northern. A lot of familiarity in a relationship is bound to be transitive and tentative. It's important the community comes out again in DeKalb, and not just as a result of a horrendous act such as February of 2008. Criminal activity in parts of the community. How can council help the police department and the citizens reduce this activity? Further residential development and annexation. An NIU study indicates there may already be an oversupply in some price ranges. And if growth is desired, what should the mix of owner-occupied and rental dwelling units be set at? Controlled, logical approach to development should be taken. Sustainability. There are many environmental issues that will be coming forward. Impacts from global warming, conservation of resources, reductions in the use of energy are bottom. Increase the balance of the city's reserve fund while maintaining a balanced budget. Economic development will be necessary, and I would prefer to see some type of industrial development along with strengthening our locally owned businesses. Human service funding should continue as it allows local not-for-profit agencies to provide critical services for those in the community in most need. Over the next 4 years, council must provide rational solutions to these problems that we all face here in the city. I also would like to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. Special thanks Susan and Kay for the invitation, and thank you to the audience.
And thank you, Mr. Finucane. Thank you for running. These are our candidates for the 2nd Ward Alderman of DeKalb. Next, we move to 4th Ward Alderman. So, candidates, please make your